Let's keep going into the technicalities just a bit, and this will probably, like as I mentioned, form the bulk of our commentary tonight, just dealing mostly with the technicalities and getting those out of the way. Let's turn to Tim Haig's rendering here and look at some more of the technicalities. All right, starting right here where I've got my mouse highlighted. And so Tim Haig is going to comment on the same clause, the last four words, ἀρχῇ, theos, and halagos, that Dr. White was commenting on. Here's what Tim Haig has to say in his Christology syllabus, which is basically a seminary level course that you can take if you attend his seminary there, his theological training school. And the word was God, right? This is the last clause. Tim Haig says, the Greek construction of this phrase appears at first to leave open the question of which word is the subject and which is the predicate nominative, ἀρχῇ, theos, and halagos. Should we understand this to mean the word was God? Or should we understand it to mean God was the word, right? That's the question that's in front of us. Kind of a short question. We've already answered provided a short answer from Dr. James White. Let's look at this again from another theologian. The answer is derived from the fact that logos has the article while theos does not. Sounds exactly like what Dr. James White says, and it should, because this is good Greek grammar. Thus, and the word was God, with the word being subject and God being predicate nominative, is the proper translation. That's exactly what Dr. James White said. Right, okay. Let's keep reading Tim Haig's explanation. But why does John make theos God an arthrous, that is, without the article? Why doesn't he have the article? Let's begin to ask that question. The silly schoolboy translation of the Jehovah's Witness, quote, and the word was a God, end quote, in the New World Translation, not only misses the point of the Greek grammar, right, where they talk about, well, the indefinite article must be assumed, it must be indicated, because the definite article isn't there, therefore we're going to insert an indefinite article because that's what we believe should be there. When really that's bad Greek grammar. We don't have to assume any indefinite article there at all, right? We can, if anything, it's the opposite. We're going to find out that Greek actually lets us assume a definite article even when there isn't one there, right? But let's keep reading Tim Haig. So the New World Translation from the Jehovah's Witnesses not only misses the point of the Greek grammar, but also ignores the fact that theos is used without the article throughout the prologue. Hello? Look at verse 6, verse 12, verse 13, and verse 18 of John. In these verses, the meaning is clearly not, quote, a God, end quote, even though in the Greek there's no the in front of God. You understand what I'm trying to challenge the Jehovah's Witness translation here? If the Jehovah's Witnesses were consistent in their translation where there's a missing article in front of God, in front of theos, where they think there should be one, thus forcing them into a translation that says a God, right, implying the indefinite article well, then if that's the case, then they need to put that in there for every place that it's missing, which we saw from the other article from Christian Courier that it's missing in over 1,300 places. When we say missing, we don't mean that as an error. We simply mean that this is the way that the grammarians wrote it. This is the way that the writers of the New Testament penned their Greek, because they knew Greek. They knew Greek apparently better than the Jehovah's Witness translators do. So what Tim Haig goes on to say is that if we look at verse 6, 12, 13, and 18, later on in John's same gospel here, then we find that he doesn't put the definite article there, and yet we don't have John implying that it's a God like the Jehovah's Witnesses say. All right, we'll see that in a moment. Tim Haig continues, some have suggested that the anarthrous means without the article. Right, anarthrous, without the article, that the anarthrous theos is to be construed quantitatively or as an adjective yield, and the word was divine. So Tim Haig is commenting on James White's translation of the word was divine. Tim Haig, I sense, isn't entirely comfortable with translating it and the word was divine. I'm sorry, not the word was divine, but the word was deity. Tim Haig would agree with what James White is implying about the word was deity with the capital D. But if we back down from deity and just say the word was divine, right, that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses imply, so don't get confused. Notice this, and the word was divine. This is what Tim Haig is going to challenge, and I also challenge this. Haig continues, but a noun in Greek does not automatically become an adjective when it sheds the article, nor does any accepted Greek lexicon offer the meaning divine for the noun theos. So the Jehovah's Witnesses imply that, hey, this noun theos without the article must mean divine. as in Jesus is a God. He's divine. He's a divine-like being. He's a God-like creature. He's not very God, but he's a God. He's a lesser being. He's a divine creature. Therefore, he is divine. Tim Hegg says, no, no, no. Just because you take away the article, right, doesn't suddenly turn the noun into an adjective and turn theos into divine. Had John wished to convey such a meaning, Hegg says, he had a well-known adjective, theos, or theos, at his disposal as opposed to theos, or theos, depending on how you pronounce that. Theos, one extra letter in the Greek, but it sounds very close. Theos, 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 right? That's what I'm trying to be careful. I say theos and theos is how I pronounce. The adjective is theos and the noun is theos.